Hey everybody, it's Mike. All right, so today I'm going to break down for you in very simple terms the most basic but most important information you need to know about what borderline personality disorder is when it comes to romantic relationships. Now, bear in mind, borderline personality disorder really gets stimulated the most intensely in romantic relationships, more than any other dynamic. So this channel and this video is designed to help non-borderlines who are in a romantic relationship or have been in a romantic relationship with somebody who has severe untreated borderline personality disorder. Listen to every word I say. Please don't send me nasty messages. I don't know anything about what it's like to be a borderline. I'm not a borderline myself, and I don't have any information about what happens when a borderline gets into treatment. So I don't talk about what I don't know anything about. If you are happy in your relationship, then there's no need for you to watch this video. This channel and this video is for non-borderlines who have gone through what they have experienced as a toxic and dysfunctional and painful dynamic and relationship, and they're trying to recover from that. You're trying to get your sense of self back. You're trying to get your hope back. You're trying to get your just everything. You just want to get your joy and your happiness. You want to figure out where you're going in life. You want to heal. I am not a mental health professional, so do not take anything I say as any kind of in place of any kind of treatment from a mental health professional, a psychologist, or a psychiatrist. I am just simply somebody who survived a romantic relationship with a severely untreated woman, a woman who had severe borderline personality disorder who was undiagnosed and untreated. And so that's why I created this channel, to help those. So I'm going to talk to you about, in very simple terms, we're just going to cut through all of the confusion and all of the complexity that is borderline personality disorder, and we're just going to get to what you need to know, the simplest things about what goes on inside of them. All right? So again, I'm not a borderline, and so I may say things that may or may not be 100% accurate, but what I'm sharing with you is what I needed to know, and I needed to put things into very simple terms in order to survive and to get out of the relationship and get my life back. And in case you don't know, you can watch the earliest videos and you can see how much pain I was in then, and compared to now, I am in a state of recovery, which means I don't have any pain, I don't carry around a scar, I don't have any resentment. A lot of you who come on here understandably say, I'm going to carry this wound around with me for the rest of my life. Well, I have healed that. And so I want to share with you how to do that. So one of the things to do is to understand what you need to know about what's going on in the mind of the borderline that you are with. As I said earlier, borderline personality disorder is a very complex disorder. And so you could get into all of the minutiae about what goes on in their mind, even what caused it, all those other things, but that isn't going to help you, because you are a romantic partner, or you were a romantic partner. And so what's happening if you are interacting with an untreated person with severe borderline personality disorder, you have what they call cognitive dissonance. You are confused, you are in pain, you feel guilty, you feel lonely, you feel devalued, you feel just so confused. You're so attached to them, but at the same time, it's so destructive to you, and you're getting double messages, and you're going insane. You feel like you're losing your mind, and maybe you are losing your mind. So you need to understand some very simple things. First off, in order to understand borderline personality disorder, go spend some time watching infants and toddlers, like up to 2 years of age and younger. And they live in a very black and white world. Now, we can see it in infants. Infants aren't fully formed. So when it comes to their ability to know what the heck is going on in the world, they don't. They can't see, everything is blurry, there's a bunch of shapes and sounds, and there's all this stimulation that's going on with them. They're happy and they're giggling, and then in a second they are scream crying at the top of their lungs. They can't tell you exactly what's wrong. Oh yeah, there's a little thing poking me in the back, and because I'm an infant I can't reach it, could you please go over it? They can't even do that. All they know is that they're in pain, they're uncomfortable, they're hungry, they got to poop, their stomach hurts, they're lonely, they need mommy, they need attention, it's too much attention, leave me alone, I'm tired but I can't go to sleep. This is what's going on inside of a tiny infant, and they can't do anything to comfort themselves, to fix themselves, to help themselves. So the damage that has been caused, and from what I've seen, the majority of what I've seen says that borderline personality disorder is most likely caused from some kind of trauma at an infant. So like as early as a month or 2 months of age. It could be that early. So imagine some human at that level of development being emotionally arrested, and maybe even psychologically and mentally arrested in many ways at that stage. That's all that, and they've never gone beyond that. Maybe their intellect and other parts of them have evolved, but that part of them, the core identity and self and their psychological essence, hasn't moved beyond that 1 or 2 months, or up to 2 years. That's as far as it's gone. So all they know is all of that experience. And infants, they're either happy or they're unhappy. It's very rare that they're just sort of comfortable. Now, of course, a healthy infant, I'm assuming, gets to this place where they're comfortable, and so maybe they have 3 states of being. They're happy, they're really unhappy, and maybe they're just kind of in this fluid state of comfortability. Bear in mind, the borderline has been traumatized, so they don't have that state of just being okay. They don't have that. They're either really happy or they're really screwed up, or even the intensity of being happy is too much. The intensity of being, just the normal fear that flies through your head of what if somebody leaves me. That becomes such an intense reality that they have to respond to it. An infant needs their parent literally to survive. So they are constantly in a state of survival, like life or death survival. That's why they respond so intensely to everything. There's no middle ground. Now, if you are fully formed, quote, healthy adult, we're all, it's a scale, we're all on some level somewhere. But you have the ability to tolerate multiple feelings at the same time. You can be happy and frustrated. You can be in love and frightened. You can be hungry and, whatever. You have the ability to tolerate dual feelings. And the truth is, we are constantly, this is why borderlines constantly are shifting, because the truth of the matter is at the very core of our essence, this was taught to me by my spiritual teacher, so I don't know what psychologists think of this, but we are constantly experiencing positive and negative, love and hate, happy, sad, all the time. And so there's never a state where you're one or the other. The borderline, because they're an infant, they can only go from one to the other. They haven't been able to integrate the ability to have both feelings at the same time and tolerate them. But just like you and I, they are constantly having black and white. You have it all the time too. You're just able to, all of the things that have gone on in your evolution as a human being have given you this ability to have multiple feelings and know when to act on them and when not. They can't. So that's the first thing. You need to understand that that is not going to change. If you are like me and you're with your borderline, even if you know that they have borderline personality disorder, which at one point I became aware that she did, whether she chose to believe that or not, I'm absolutely 100% convinced that that was the case. If you are in that space, then what has happened is you believe that you can give them some kind of experience, like, because what will happen with a lot of people is they learn to trust. If you give them enough time, they learn to trust you. And so in the beginning, they may not trust you. They may, whatever they'll feel. You hear this all the time. When I first met him or her, I wasn't so sure. He did this or she did that, and I didn't. But I learned to love that about them, and now that's the cutest thing. Okay, borderlines are probably not going to be able to do that. There's always going to be something stimulating them in multiple directions all the time. Because bear in mind, even though they look like an adult, and in many other ways they have evolved into an adult, the core essence, their psychological core essence, their emotional core essence is of an infant in crisis. Got me? So the thing about an infant in crisis is the infant in crisis wants to fix the problem. So when baby is crying for mom and mom shows up, you can imagine the rush of the infant going, "Mommy is here, it's all okay." That's the idealization phase. When before they meet you, they are in crisis mode. They think that they need love and attention, and you come along and they project onto you. Go and watch my, what I say about what psychological projection is. They project onto you the perfect parent. By the way, you'll always be the parent. You're never going to become anything other than the parent to them. So that's the other thing you need to know. They're constantly in a state of life and death, tragic life and death survival. That will never change, no matter how much therapy they get. That will always be the case with them. And that's always going to be the case when you're with them. Second, they will always see you as the parent, always. They will never see you as anything else. Third, you will never be able to give them enough of whatever it is that you think and they think they need from you in order for them to build up enough safety within themselves that they'll finally drop the drama and the crisis and just be okay. What you will experience, though, is that when you show up, especially in the first of the relationship, you remember that it's like they're crying for mommy and mommy shows up and picks them up. Now they're happy. They are so happy. They're overwhelmed and they've finally found their salvation. You will be their salvation. Just like mommy is literally sometimes their salvation. Mommy picks them up. They're not going to get eaten by a bear or, fall off a cliff or die of starvation or loneliness. Mommy will literally take care of them, feed them. Mommy has breasts. You know what I mean? Mommy literally is, for the infant, God, life and death, everything or nothing. If they have mommy, great. If they don't have mommy, it is a serious problem. That will never change with them. So in the beginning, when they loved you, what we call love bombing or the idealization phase, is they saw you as something more than human. Now that's going to feel good. It's going to feel amazing. Many of you talk about how amazing it is, and that can last for who knows how long. With me, it lasted for a couple of weeks. For some of you, apparently it lasts for months or years. Now, the truth is it never really lasts that long. There's all these micro shifts going on, but maybe they're able to keep up, because all borderlines are different in all different ways, but they function basically the same way. They're able to keep the facade up of you being the perfect parent for however long that's going to last. That means they will love you. You will be the best. You have saved them. And then at some point, they will not be able to hold up that projection any longer. That projection will fall apart because their fears will come in, because they're constantly going through positive and negative, happy and sad, love you, hate you. And when that phase happens, you'll know it. Trust me, you'll know it. And here's the last thing you need to know. So I'm breaking it down into how many things we're breaking it down into. Number one, they are an infant that is constantly in a crisis mode. Everything is good or bad. That's never going to change. Number two, you are the parent. You are either saving them or destroying them. That will never change. Number three, you are going to think, I think this is number three, you are going to think that if you spend enough time loving them, that they will learn to trust and they will drop the fear and learn to just be in the middle and be okay, and just know you're going to show up and you're not going to leave. You're 5 minutes late to a meeting. It's not a big deal. You didn't respond to a text immediately. You coughed, or you looked at your watch, or you farted or something like that. That doesn't automatically mean that you're the worst person in the world. Those won't ever change. You need to understand this is hardwired. So imagine they're being formed. Their psyche is being formed, and it got interrupted by a major trauma of neglect, abuse, something. We don't know because it was a really long time ago and they don't remember because they were infants. But whatever it was, it stopped them in that phase of the development, and they're constantly in this turmoil of life and death, black and white. That's never going to change. You're never going to get them to be okay. Number 4, most important, they will ultimately destroy the relationship irreparably, either by ghosting you, discarding you, rejecting you, betraying you, harming you, manipulating you to such a degree where they cause so much damage that you have no choice but to leave. I can say that's the truth for me. What my borderline, and everybody's different. You have your threshold. If you're more codependent, your threshold is going to be more extreme, and they will keep pushing you. They will push your borders. They will test to see how far they can go with you. And eventually they will find out, and they will destroy it forever. With me, I know what mine was, and she didn't plan it out. The illness, the mental illness, the borderline personality, the disorder itself, we got to treat that like its own person. So we could make that number 5. The disorder is a third person in the relationship. So you're not just with one person, you're with 2. The one person you're with is the person that you love who happens to have this mental disorder. And the disorder itself is going to act like a third person in the relationship. This is why they have to be in therapy and they have to be in treatment, because that is how they learn how to deal with that whole other thing, which is the disorder. The thing that forces them to split, because that's really the bottom line. The bottom line is, we could talk about all the things that borderline personality disorder is, but the bottom line is that they will split. They cannot help it. They cannot help to go from extremes. And if you're on one extreme, it's great, but however far the pendulum swings, it's going to swing back in the other direction just as far. Guaranteed. So, you have to know this. You have to know that it is a mental illness. Now, I am choosing to use the word mental illness. Some people don't like that. Borderlines, a lot of time, understandably don't like that. I understand why. Because they don't want to be stigmatized. Who does? I don't. Nobody wants to be stigmatized. But if we don't acknowledge that there is this third person in the room, which is the disorder itself, the mental illness, which is not the person, because I don't think borderlines are evil people. They're not narcissists. That's a whole other deal. They might have narcissistic tendencies. Maybe they have comorbid, blah, blah, blah. But we're talking straight borderlines. They're not evil, horrible people planning out your demise. They are people who have a mental illness. Now, whether or not it is congenital or whether or not it is connected to the nervous system, whether or not there's a brain dysfunction, I don't know. But I can tell you, as a non-borderline, it helps me to believe that that is true. Because when I see that as this thing that I cannot fix, that she is or he is going to act these ways, these destructive ways, and there's nothing I can do, because the disorder itself will force them to act in these destructive ways. When I accept that, then I can separate, and I can create boundaries, and I can heal myself. If you are in a relationship with somebody who has severe untreated borderline personality disorder, The only thing I can tell you is it's never going to get better. It's only going to get worse. That's just the fact of the matter. And at some point, they will damage you to such an extent that you will not be able to forgive them. Now, like I said, that's what happened with me. You know, she discarded me and betrayed me and hurt me. And I mean, I'm sure she doesn't even know. If she were here, she would be like, I don't know what you're talking about. You said this. That's what she would say. You know, that's what she was saying then. You said this. She had one word that I said. And that one word was more damaging to her and meant more to her than all of the horrific shit she had been doing to me that she acknowledged she had been doing. And it outweighed all of the, 3 weeks of nursing her back to health and taking care of her and getting her to the hospital and, all the crap that she put me through that I was going to love her through. None of that meant anything once I said that one word. It was the worst thing anybody had ever done to her, and I was the worst person that ever existed, and she couldn't have anything to do with me. And right on Christmas Day, after I had just, put a down payment on for a house for us to live in and blah, 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 all that other stuff. I could go on and on and on. The point is that the third person in the relationship is planning that out, the disorder. It's not them. The disorder is planning out to understand this, to sabotage their deepest desire. Their deepest desire is for you to love them and for them to love you. That is the truth. They want love more than anybody. I can say that. I believe I can say that with all authority, that among all peoples of the world, there is no group of people in the world that wants love more intensely and more passionately than the borderline. But they have this third person inside of them, which is their disorder, which is their mental illness, which forces them to destroy the very thing they want the most. And so your experience, which is what's most important to you, your experience is that they are going to harm you, betray you, hurt you, discard you in the worst possible way, at the worst possible time, in the way that will be the most hurtful to you when you are at your most vulnerable, to the point where you will not be able to recover. Whether they've, permanently discarded you like mine did with me, as far as I know. I then broke off all contact, so who knows? More than likely, she knew. But that's what's happening here. You're going to feel, though, that you've just been targeted by the most malignant narcissist in existence. That's why, if you read the comments here, people who are not in recovery, and I'm talking to you, any of you who talk this way, you're not in full recovery. If you need to portray the borderline as being narcissistic or as a covert narcissist, it means that you are accurately feeling what they are doing to you, but you are not accurately understanding their motivations. It makes you feel safe to judge their motivations as projected right at you, but the truth is it's never been about you. None of it has ever been about you. They are harming themselves. It is the deepest form of self-harm there is. The people who want love the most are going to bring into their lives the most loving, caring people they can find, which are codependents, who put up with anything and will love you in the hope that someday they can fix you and make you love them back. And they take these people who will suffer the most horrific things and be as patient as they possibly can. And when it's about to really happen, when they are on the verge of letting themselves go and finally be loved, the disorder gets in there and says, no, watch what I'm going to do. And it steps in and it destroys the partner. And the borderlines has to sit back and watch, and they can't stop it. You don't believe me? Ask them. Ask the ones that are in recovery. It's exactly what happens. But you knowing that, as sad and as tragic as that is, and it is horrifically sad and tragic, There's nothing you can do about it. It won't change. So you have to treat them if they are untreated. You have to assume that they are narcissists out to destroy you, because they will. If you can get yourself to that point, understand it's a mental illness. They won't change. They'll never be fixed. They'll never be able to love you back. And that they will damage you beyond repair. That those things are guaranteed. Then you will have the strength to stop trying to do the impossible, which is try and fix them. And then you can leave for your own safety. Now, the last thing I want to tell you is this. If they are untreated, I keep repeating it because some people forget. I'm not talking about borderlines who are in treatment or who are treated or who are cured, if there is such a thing. I'm not talking about them. Talking about all the rest of them, the ones that are maybe sort of in treatment, because treatment doesn't necessarily guarantee they're going to be able to recover. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to relapse. That's why it's a mental disorder. See, this is the difference between a mental disorder and like a disorder like alcoholism. Alcoholism can be treated and there can be slow recovery. Lots of times, most alcoholics and drug addicts do end up relapsing, but there's some that never relapse and they actually get better and better and better and better. But that's because it's a whole different kind of thing. Borderline personality disorder is not. It is at the fundamental level. They are broken at a fundamental level. And my estimation, and I could be wrong about this, is that the best that you can hope for with them is that they'll find somebody who can treat them, and they will have the consciousness to know that they are broken on the deepest level. And then what the therapy does is it acts sort of like duct tape, and it keeps this broken thing together so that they can manage it, but it'll never be fixed. It'll never fuse and be whole. It's never going to happen. And so the likelihood of you being like I thought, the likelihood of you being the one person that's going to fix them and make you love them is 99.9999999999997% impossible. It's not going to happen. The kindest thing you can do for them is put them in a situation where they can become conscious that they're broken and they need professional help. So if you really love them, like most of you empaths out there who say that I'm an empath and I love people, but whatever, we'll talk about that in another video. If you're truly not doing it because of your own need and your own desire to be loved, if you really are Superman or Superwoman and your red cape is flapping in the wind as you go to save and be the trauma responder, if you really want to respond to their trauma, the kindest thing you can do is to tell them, I can't be in a relationship with you. I can't have any contact with you. I believe that you have borderline personality disorder and it's very destructive to me. I have to leave for my own health and my own sanity. I love you and I wish you the best. I hope you find everything in life. Goodbye. Then what will happen is you are no longer the, quote, supply, the fix, and they will have an opportunity in the tremendous pain that you will cause them. They will have an opportunity to then say, I'm broken, I need help. And they will seek out a therapist, maybe. But if you stick around with the delusion that you can fix something that is broken internally, if you think that you are, in fact, have this superpower to fix what is broken inside of them, then you will keep them in their delusion and they will not get better, but you will get harmed. Absolutely guaranteed. You will harm them. So the other way to look at it, when I realized it, and let me get my assistant out here. I haven't brought her to help us in, but let me find my little assistant. Where is she? What was I going to say? If you can understand that you are not dating a full-grown man or woman, the person you are dating is that. Once I realized that's how she was, that the core of her essence was this, I realized for me to expect this little baby to understand what she did out of her, just, she's pure instinct. She knows nothing other than whatever instinct is flying through her, and she must respond to those instincts. Do you think that little baby, when they took this picture, do you think she had any ability to stop from crying? Do you think she said to herself, I'm going to cry now? No. Something happened. Mommy wasn't there. There was a loud sound, something. She had to go to the potty. Some stimulation, which we adults could handle very easily, was so intense for her that she had no choice but to respond to the stimulus, to scream, cry. That's who you're having a relationship with. That's never going to change. If you can, for me, when I saw that, the thought of trying to have a romantic, sexual, where you make love with somebody and you merge your soul with them and you get to know them and get to share your deepest essence with them and they share your deepest essence with you. The deepest essence that these people have is this. When I realized that, it was like, okay, I'm not a pedophile. Now, I'm not saying you're a pedophile, don't get upset, but on an emotional, psychological level, that is the fact, unless they are in treatment. And even then, you have to know it. That you talk to the people who are in treatment. You're going to have to deal with things that you don't have to deal with people who are fully formed. And there's a difference between, your crazy ex that was jealous and had problems, because they have the ability to look at themselves and change what they do and change their behavior over time. If she's frozen in this state, she can't change unless she gets somebody who really can help her. And I think that for them, it takes a monumental dedication and effort and consistency and discipline. I interact, and thankfully there's a lot of borderlines who come on who are in treatment, I think. Some of them maybe not, who come onto my channel, and I've seen them split on me. In the beginning, they love me, and then at some point, they're going to find some way to try and sort of either stimulate me or push me or argue with me, and I can watch it's the same thing. It never changes. And there's one person in particular, I'm not trying to play favorites here, so I won't mention any names. In fact, I don't remember the name, but there was one person in particular who I believe has found the ability to know what to do. And the honesty of basically saying, yes, I'm still broken, and I still go through the splitting, nothing's changed, but I've learned ways to be able to modify my behavior. And that's the bottom line. Love is not a feeling, it is an action. And the person who loves you is the person, when things are the worst, who can act lovingly towards you and supportively towards you. Not the person, when it's convenient and they're in a good mood, can love you and make you feel good. It's when they don't want to love you and they don't feel like it and they don't like you in that moment, because we all go through it. You wake up and you look at your partner and they've got bedhead and they got big bags under their eyes and maybe they just farted under the covers and they don't have the makeup on and you're like, oh my God, what the hell monster did I just wake up next to? Those of us who, aren't broken in that way can turn around and love the person. Does my ass look big in these jeans? We figure out what to say so we don't hurt them. Even though it's like, oh my God, your ass looks horrible in those jeans. Oh my God, what the hell am I, oh man, oh. We learn how not to do that. She doesn't. She cannot resist the impulse to respond to every impulse that goes through her, okay? So, bottom line is this, they're broken, whether this is true or not. If you are a codependent with an untreated borderline, you have to see them this way. They are broken. You cannot fix them. They will never love you, and they will destroy the relationship beyond repair. It may take decades. There are people on here who talk about, I was with mine for a number of months. There have been people on here who have been with theirs for 10 years, 20 years, 5 years, 16 years. And some of them who say it was really wonderful for 5 years, and then one day she just split on me and took the money, and then, filed for divorce and claimed that I was abusive. And where the hell did this come from? That will happen. The reason why it happens is that because you actually did love them. The love actually got to them, and they cannot, because they are still have been programmed to hate themselves. They still cannot allow you to love them. And if they start to feel like your love is going to get through, then the borderline personality disorder steps in between you and them and will destroy the relationship. They can't stop it. You can't stop it. So, my three-pronged approach, if you want to have what I have, I am in a state of recovery. I am happy. I spend no time thinking about my borderline. I'm doing this, this channel because you have said to me that this is helpful to you. So I'm doing it. And let's give the channel a big, standing applause, because we've passed the 1,000 mark, which means according to YouTube, it's a real channel. So I'm going to, now that you have passed that mark, this channel, I'm going to make this part of my full-time work. And now I'll put my energy into both of my channels, and this will be one of them. It's the only reason I'm here is because you say that I'm telling you things that you need to hear to help you heal. That's it. If it weren't for that, I would completely forget. I already had. I started the channel, and after 2 months, I stopped putting up videos because I healed. And what did I do to heal? Number one, I went to a therapist who is qualified to help codependents recover from cluster B personality disorder relationships. You have to have that. Number two, I started going to Codependence Anonymous, and I started working the 12 steps, and I did a fourth step, which is looking at your expectations and your resentments. And so I did that, and I worked all 12 of those steps, and I worked with a sponsor, and I healed myself of that. And the third one is I have a daily spiritual discipline. Now, you don't have to have the same discipline as me. I'm a Qigong teacher, a meditation teacher, a shaman. I do all that, so I already have that. If you want to be a Christian and a Catholic and go to church, or you want to go worship the devil, or if you want to just be a meditator and Zen, or if you're an atheist and you just want to learn how to, meditate and look at your feelings and not react, I don't care what you call a spiritual discipline, but it has to be a discipline that you practice every single day. Those three things. Therapy with a qualified therapist, and don't give me this crap of, oh, I tried a therapist and I didn't like it and all he did was talk. Fine, get another one. Don't give me that crap. You can find somebody that wants to help you. Every time I hear that, I just hear that you're too frightened to look at your issues. I don't believe you. So, find a therapist that works for you. Go to coda.org, and you can go to an online meeting right now today, work the 12 steps, and have your spiritual discipline, and do that every day without fail, and you can heal. Those of you walking around with a wound, with a scar, like I said, when I might even have said it on one of these videos, I think I'm broken. I'm not broken anymore. In fact, I'm more healed than ever, because I used that opportunity to heal my child, more of my childhood issues. All right? So I babbled long enough. Freedom.spirittao.com is coming soon, and I'm going to have specific videos just for borderlines to heal. It might even be helpful for I said that backwards. Specific videos for non-borderlines to heal from the toxic effects of relationship. But now that I'm thinking about it, it might be even helpful for borderlines. Because the truth is, borderlines are also codependent. I mean, the nature of them is codependent. They are dependent upon mommy still. Mommy hasn't showed up. And they suffer, they understand. You can tell them all the pain that you go through, they understand it. They're codependents as well. So it might even be helpful for everybody. We'll see. But it's going to be focused towards the non-borderline, and that'll be coming up soon. I apologize for the wait, but it is coming. A lot of people have asked me, will I counsel them? I get people asking me, the presumption of this is really, but people will say, hey, can we hang out? Hey, you sound really cool. Can we go get a beer? Hey, can I talk to you offline? Hey, can I? No, I got a life. Do you have any idea how, I mean, I would have nothing done if everybody who wanted to talk to me, I'd be talking on the phone and emails all day for, no. So people started asking me if I would counsel them. I'm not a licensed mental health professional, so I don't think it's a good idea for me to counsel this codependent stuff for borderlines. I don't think that's a good idea for me. But in place of that, I am going to share with you things that are specific to me that I think you may not find other places, that have helped me to heal and to grow. And I'll teach you some meditations and some practices and some more of these kinds of things where, you know, this is how I had to look at it to separate and to heal. So keep your eyes open for that, freedom.spirittao.com. And by the way, the little borderline in the corner here, she's crying because you have not subscribed yet. So this is your one and only chance to heal a borderline. If you subscribe by just very gently mousing over her little face, if you subscribe, she will be the only borderline that can magically be healed just by something that you can do. So subscribe now and she'll be happy. All right, that's it for me, guys. I will talk to you later. Let's see, where am I going here?